Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Good Boxing Podcast with your host, Josh Sias. And I'm going to jump right into this episode. My voice is recovered, sounds good, feels good, and I'm ready to come back and drop some hot episodes. Last night, we had Shakur Stevenson take on the WBO world champion, Jamel Herring. Now, a lot of people had a lot of questions about Shakur Stevenson. Shakur, very, very talented, clearly a masterful boxer, young, athletic, has skills for days, right? Everyone can see it, but we had yet to see him really test himself. He hadn't been put in with a grizzly veteran that's a champion. Yeah, he was a champion in 126 and he did move up, but he had never fought someone for a title. That was the whole knock. Um, he had seemingly been in with lackluster competition. Some names that were supposed to push him, Shakur just made it look easy. And there's really nothing wrong with that. Like if you really think about it, you want to have dominant performances and you don't want it to be close if it doesn't have to. I know people want to see him tested, but Shakur has exhibited extreme masterful ability in the ring. I love his distance management. I love his feints. I love his defense. And add in the fact that he's a southpaw with fantastic footwork, and you're due for a nightmare matchup. However, Jamel Herring was supposed to be that test, and last night he didn't really test Shakur Stevenson. He said he wanted to make a dogfight, but he came out boxing, and you got to give that credit to Shakur Stevenson. He never let Jamel Herring go forward. He never let Jamel Herring really impose his size advantage, quote unquote. He never let Jamel Herring dominate on the inside. And clearly, when they got in, he tied up. He did exactly what he had to do. He stood his ground, and body shots really didn't affect him. There was maybe in round 5 a little bit of a fight back from Jamel Herring, but immediately, like a true champion does, and a future champion, well, actually is a champion now. So, like a champion, Shakur Stevenson never let the momentum go the other way. And eventually he ended up stopping Jamel Herring, which was honestly, from round 2, it was going to be a stoppage. I'm going to be honest with you. In round 2, when I saw Jamel Herring getting lit up with shots that I know a lot of people kind of say, oh, you got to go forward, you got to go forward. But he wasn't seeing the punches that he was getting hit with from that left side. I mean, southpaw versus southpaw. His right eye was in front, and Shakur was just killing him on the left side. It was, quite frankly, remarkable, and kid looked great. Um, what's next for him now? Truthfully, I don't think there's really anyone at 130 that can mess with Shakur Stevenson. The only, maybe, I don't want to say chink in his armor. The only like flash of a weakness took place in that 5th round, where I think a very unique southpaw who puts pressure with power could potentially maybe offset and catch Shakur and maybe hurt him. And I could think if Javante went down to 130, which I know probably won't happen, they would probably have a higher probability of meeting at 135 versus 130 because Shakur is still growing. He's going to get bigger and move up. But Oscar Valdez, I could see him putting pressure maybe, but I just don't see him being able to offset what Shakur does. And if Oscar is a righty, Shakur is clearly comfortable fighting righties. Southpaw and southpaw is a little different, and that's why I think Gervonta Davis can maybe give him a problem. He's short and he hits like a truck. If he leans back against Gervonta, Gervonta could catch him with an overhand left and potentially put him to sleep. But again, it would take a very select southpaw, and I truthfully think Shakur Stevenson would still give Gervonta Davis tremendous issues. I think Shakur gives anyone up to 140 tremendous work, win or lose. I think someone like Loma, honestly, if he fought Loma right now, I think it would be a little too early. And I think Loma could actually beat Shakur at 130 because he's been fighting 135ers. And I don't think the size and strength of Shakur would supersede someone like Teofimo Lopez or a Devin Haney or Javante Tank Davis from the higher weights. So I actually think Loma and Shakur would make sense because let's say Loma isn't successful at 135 when he tries to go for undisputed again. Clearly, he wants to rematch with Teofimo, and that's looking like what's going to happen. I know the zone is trying to get that Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez fight going on, the WBC and their foolery, whatever it may be. But I think Loma versus Shakur is definitely a fight that might happen down the line since both are promoted by Top Rank. And I think tactically, Loma can give Shakur issues. He's a southpaw that hits hard because at 135 and 130 has knocked out bigger guys and also has knocked out people on 130. I think his speed and that pressure style couldn't give Shakur some issues because he's southpaw and has the footwork and fights southpaws well. But that goes the same for Shakur. Shakur can maybe give Loma some issues where he's long, he knows how to move backwards, and he may pressure Loma and push him back. So that's my thoughts on Shakur Stevenson. I think it was a dominant performance. I want to see Oscar Valdez just for him to unify the titles. I think he blows Oscar out. I just don't think Oscar has the punching power nor the boxing ability to give Shakur Stevenson issues. And I can totally see why Oscar has been avoiding this kid. I think, yeah, he took on Burchelt, but Burchelt's not Shakur Stevenson. It's a different kind of puzzle. And personally, Shakur Stevenson's a lot more dangerous than Miguel Burchelt because he can hurt you, he can outbox you, and he's an enigma in the ring. If he gets a lead, he will back up and control the distance. So those are my thoughts. I think Shakur Stevenson's a fantastic prospect. I don't really see anyone at 130 giving him issues. And if he moves up to 135, he's another one to be in the mix of the 4 or 5 kings, whatever, because no one's really fighting except Tio. And that's that. Thank you. Have a good day. And that's the episode.